All right, Alan Stein, good morning. It's great to see you.
Oh, good morning, Ian. It's great to see you as well, my friend.
Yeah, so this is Halftime Heroes with iSport 360. And as I've shared with you, we bring celebrity sports parents onto this show. And to me, you are a celebrity sports parent because you have trained some of the most elite basketball players. You're an author, you're a motivational speaker. You've done a lot, and you have a huge social media following because people love, the message that you're putting out there. So I'm excited to have you here today. And I think maybe where we should begin is let's talk about what you're up to these days.
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate you loosening the definition of the word celebrity to include me. At best, I would consider myself celebrity adjacent, but nonetheless, knowing you and knowing iSport 360 and knowing the premise of this show, I'm glad you kind of loosened that rein and let me in because I'm really excited for this conversation. I know it's something both you and I are super passionate about. As far as what I'm up to today, I'm the proud father of three youth basketball players. I have twin sons that are 14 and just finishing up eighth grade, and a daughter that's 12 that's just finishing up sixth grade. But I've been involved in youth sports my entire life. I was a very dedicated basketball player myself, all the way up playing through Elon University down in North Carolina. And then I transitioned into becoming a basketball performance coach, where I had a really cool opportunity to work with some of the world's best players and coaches. And I did that for just under 20 years before I decided to leave and do what I'm currently pursuing now, which is a corporate keynote speaking and an author of two books, with a third book soon to be on the way. But I really take all of the lessons and strategies and disciplines and mindsets and routines that I learned from the game's best players and coaches, and I teach folks how to apply those to their businesses and to their lives to improve organizational performance, leadership performance, sales performance, and individual performance. So I'm basically a motivational speaker now, and I absolutely love it. I've really found my calling and I'm in my lane.
Yeah, I've seen some of your material like on YouTube videos, and I think you do a great job. And I love how you bring the lessons from your time with elite athletes to corporate environments, for example. What are some of the topics that you're covering right now?
Well, from a corporate keynote standpoint, everything falls under the umbrella of performance. And each group, each brand, each organization, each event kind of decides what they want the bullseye to be. Do they want to improve the individual performance of each member of their team? Do they want to improve the leadership performance of the executive staff? Do they want to improve collaboration and cohesion and culture, or what we call organizational performance? And then I also do a ton of work with sales organizations to improve sales performance, but it's all under the umbrella of performance, productivity, and contribution.
Yep, I like that. And I've taken some of your lessons and some of your messages back to my team here at iSport 360. But one of my favorites, which I brought to my 14-year-old daughter who plays soccer and basketball, is some of the lessons you've shared about your time with Kobe, like mastering the basics and not getting bored with the basics. And that's why, when I would go with my daughter to her basketball practices, we would get there a half hour early. And I told her, I got this from you, but I told her, you need to start by taking 10 shots from 3 feet away, then 6 feet away, then 9 feet away. You don't start your warm-ups from the 3-point line, right? That's an important message.
Absolutely. It's really the foundational message of everything that I preach and teach now, whether on stage or on page, is working towards mastery of the fundamentals, primarily during the unseen hours. And that phrase that Kobe said to me in 2007 literally changed my life and my perspective forever, when he said the best never get bored with the basics. And for anyone that's watching the video with you and I right now, you can see the sign above my head, which is the tagline of my business. I'm all about simplifying success. I'm a big believer that complexity undermines execution. And in sport and in business, execution is the name of the game. So as leaders, we should be looking to simplify, not make things unnecessarily complex. And as I get older, I'm moving more towards untethering from all of the things that don't serve me, and less trying to just add more tools to my toolbox. So for me, it's all about simplification and focusing on the basics. And when I think of any area of my life that I'm trying to improve, whether it's as a keynote speaker, an author, or even as a father, I get crystal clear on the basics and the fundamentals that are required for excellence in that area. And then I just focus relentlessly on up-leveling those.
I think that's a great lesson for sports parents, actually, especially like you have three kids and a career, right? Like if we don't keep it simple and stay focused, you get caught up in a lot of the external stuff that distracts us, right? That distracts us, takes up our mind space, our energy. Um, so anyway, this obviously we're talking to a youth sports audience today, and so can you start by talking a little bit about your own youth sports experience?
I had a wonderful youth sports experience. I'm so thankful that both of my parents were incredibly supportive of me wanting to try just about anything that I wanted to try. And I was very singularly focused as a kid. All I was interested in were sports. I didn't really give much thought to the arts or to theater or to chorus or to playing a musical instrument. All I wanted to do was play sports. And I played just about every sport under the sun, including some unconventional ones like martial arts and BMX biking and skateboarding. But having tried everything, basketball always won out. Basketball always ended up being my favorite. So by the time I got to high school, I decided that basketball is what I wanted to focus on because it's what I was most passionate about. But it's also the sport that I felt I had the highest acumen in. I had the best chance of being successful in that sport. And that's a good lesson for folks listening now. That's called your strength zone. When you find something that you're pretty good at and you find something that you love, and then you find where those two things intersect, you want to try to spend as much time at that intersection as you can, because that gives you your best chance for not only success and performance, but even more importantly, for fulfillment and for enjoyment. When we do things we love and we do things we're naturally pretty good at, we usually enjoy it. And that's been basketball. I mean, truthfully, still to this day. I mean, I've hung up the high tops many, many years ago, but basketball is still a burning passion in my life. And I'm very thankful that I get to share that with my own children right now.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So now let's talk about your role as a sports parent, because I think, we, in a lot of the articles we write and videos we do, we talk to parents about how important it is for them to sit on the sidelines and take a moment to enjoy, appreciate. You're sitting there watching your kids. Hopefully you have your coffee. It's a Saturday or Sunday morning. You can watch the game. Um, and we also encourage parents to actually talk less at the games. Don't yell at the ref, don't yell at the coach, don't yell at your kid. Just try as hard as you can to resist that urge. Can you talk about, I think you're an interesting sort of sample here because you're a motivational speaker. It's your job to go out and get people excited about today's mission. What kind of sports parent are you like on the sidelines of your kids' games?
Well, I am the exact opposite of the prototypical motivational speaker. By choice, I usually kind of sit off on my own, don't sit with the other parents. And it's not that I don't like them. There's some we have some amazing parents on all three of my children's teams, and I've become friends with them, but I just prefer to just kind of sit off on my own, and you don't hear a peep from me the entire game. And that is my preference. I don't think that necessarily any behavior is inherently wrong. I just think we need to give thought to the intentionality behind why we do the things that we do. And I always want to go on record and say how much I respect and appreciate and value sports parents. I know how much sacrifice they make of both time and money. I know that they're doing everything in their power to give their children an opportunity to do something they love. But I will couch that with the statement that it's my assertion that many sports parents are somewhat misguided. That a lot of the behavior that they exhibit from the sideline is actually doing the opposite of what they intend. That they have very good motives and they're very well intended and they're trying to be supportive. But as you just said, when you yell at the referee, when you yell at the coach, when you coach your child from the sideline, as well intended as you may be, you're actually undermining their enjoyment and you're undermining their ability to actually improve. And more importantly, you're teaching them and planting some unconscious seeds of behaviors that I know that you don't teach them with a conscious mind. So for me, I just prefer to sit and smile and watch my kids do something they enjoy. And so far, that's worked out fairly well.
Those last few sentences are the reason that you and I connected probably like 5 years ago, because we are so on the same page. We've both probably been guilty at one time or another of being that parent who kind of loses their stuff on the sideline. It happens. But I think, and we're empathetic of all parents out there because
Of
we've
course.
been there. But both you and I also recognize that parents can either make or break their kids' youth sports experiences. And in fact, I remember a couple of years ago, you and I did a speaking engagement together down in the DC area, and I made a statement there that left your audience scratching their head. I said to them, "I don't think you should cheer for your kids from the sideline," and like there was a lot of buzz. And I went on to say after that, it's not that I don't want you to cheer; it's just that cheering for your kids from the sideline frequently is a slippery slope to coaching your kid from the sideline, then yelling out things at other kids on the field or the court. Then it sort of leads to maybe yelling at the referee if they made a bad call on your child. So we just need to be careful, right? When we're screaming and yelling from the sideline, it tends to go in a bad direction. Anything else to add on that topic?
No, you're 100% right. That is actually why I make the choice to literally not say a single word. It's really funny because that was the behavior I had as soon as all three of my children signed up for the current teams that they're on. And I slowly got to know, many of the parents who, again, are lovely people. And you should have seen how surprised they were when they found out that I'm a corporate keynote speaker, when I am
Right.
literally the quietest person in the gym who does not say a word. But you really hit it on the head there. The other reason that, and this might be getting a little bit too in the weeds, but the other reason that I don't cheer for my children when they make a good play is because I'm a big process guy, and I try and model that for my children. I try to untether from the importance of outcomes and results and really focus on the process. And ultimately in sports, whether you're a casual fan or the fan of your child, all we ever cheer for are outcomes. We only cheer when the ball goes through the basket or when the ball goes in the net. So all we're doing is reinforcing to our children that the only thing that's worthy of cheer is getting the outcome that we desired. When in fact, if we were going to cheer, we should be cheering for the process. We should be cheering for great attitudes, cheering for great effort, cheering for making the right pass, even if it wasn't technically an assist, but you made the pass to an open teammate. We should be cheering when our sons and daughters are giving high fives to their teammates, when our sons and daughters are standing up on the bench to clap for their teammates, being a good teammate. So if we're going to cheer, I would rather cheer for the process and not the outcomes. I mean, obviously, we all want to see the ball go in the basket. And it feels really good when it's our child who puts the ball in the basket. But if that's the only thing we cheer for, we condition our kids to believe that the only thing that is important is the result. And I don't believe that. Fundamentally, I think the process is way more important.
Yep. Amen, brother. I like that a lot. In fact, some of the people on the soccer team that I coach, my daughter's 14-year-old soccer team, they laugh at me because if my daughter scores a goal, I will cheer and I will yell out to the field and congratulate every kid that passed the ball before my daughter got the ball and scored. And then for my daughter, I'm either giving her a little fist bump or a little fist shake or something. So I acknowledge it, but I'm not screaming out, best goal, great
Yeah.
goal. So I appreciate the process.
Well, one of the mantras I live by, both in sport and in business, is that which gets praised gets repeated, which first and foremost is why we as parents and youth sport coaches should constantly be praising the process because we want to see that repeated. But if we look at the game of basketball, since that's the area I know best, a shot is a good shot or a bad shot the moment it's taken. It has nothing to do with whether or not it goes in. That's simply the result. If you happen to be open and you are in range and you're not heavily guarded, and according to time and score, it's a good shot for you, then that is a good shot. Even if the ball doesn't go in, that was still a good shot to take. Or conversely, you can have a player who's being incredibly selfish. They're dribbling the ball through their legs 20 times. They're double teamed. They're heavily guarded, and they just throw up a prayer and it happens to go in. That's a bad shot. We don't want to encourage them taking that. But when we only cheer for the outcome, we end up praising the bad shot and we end up saying nothing during the good shot because it was missed. So once again, we just have to remember as parents that which gets praised gets repeated. So we need to make sure we are praising the right stuff at the right times.
That's right. That's right. So let's just expand upon this a little bit more on a topic that I know you have opinions on. Why is it bad, given everything that you just shared with me, why is it bad for parents to yell shoot to their kids, particularly in basketball, but it could be hockey, lacrosse, soccer? It is the most commonly used word or cheer coming from the parent sidelines. Why is that a bad thing to yell out to your child?
I'll change the language a little bit because I want to do the best I can. And this is something I'm working on. I'm trying to get away from words like right and wrong and good or bad. I'm trying not to attach labels to them. Here's why I don't think yelling shoot is helpful, even remotely helpful. Well, first and foremost, in any sport, shooting should be a decision. It should not be a reaction. Shooting should be a conscious decision by the player with the ball, and it doesn't, or the puck, it doesn't matter what sport, and using their sport IQ decide that this is the right time and the right place for me to shoot because it's the best shot that our team can collectively get right now. So that needs to be a decision that they make. It should not be a reaction that a young person hears because their parent yells it from the stands. Now, with that said, when we do yell shoot, and even if our child follows our instruction, we're robbing them of an opportunity to develop that skill set. And the skill set is the ability to make decisions. You know, in every single sport, one of the most important skills you can develop is good decision making. So we rob them of an opportunity to decide for themselves, is this a good shot or not? And that's the way that we all learn. We learn by doing. So we need to give our children some autonomy and let them figure that out. Another reason that it's not a very helpful thing to yell is I'm a big believer that the only person that should be giving instructions during a game is the coach or the coaching staff if they have assistants. It's very chaotic and confusing, especially for really young children, to have all sorts of voices and instructions coming at them from every single angle. You know, you've got your coach yelling, you've got your parents yelling, you've got teammates yelling, all of while you're trying to process in real time everything that's going on to the game. All you're doing as a parent when you're yelling is you're adding to the chaos. You're adding to the white noise. You're making it more difficult. And the last reason I'll say that it's unhelpful, and this happens more as we get to slightly higher levels, by the time you as the parent believe it's a good shot and you yell for them to shoot and they hear it and process the information and then act on it, a split second has gone by, and in many times it's no longer a good shot, you know, especially at the higher levels in high school and in college. You know, it's an instantaneous decision. It can't be a long drawn out reaction. So by the time you yell shoot, they process it and they actually shoot. It's usually not a good shot because now they're heavily guarded. So for all of those reasons, I do encourage parents to do their best to refrain from yelling any instructions from the sideline. But you nailed it. The number one that they almost always yell is shoot.
Yeah, yeah, that's an important one. We talk about that a lot. And thanks for sharing that. Okay, let's get to the lightning round questions. We have maybe like 2 minutes left here. So I'm going to ask you three quick questions relative to sports and maybe even some other things. Proudest dad moment on the sidelines of your kids' games?
This actually happened just a couple of weeks ago. My son, Jack, for the first time, intentionally stepped in and drew an offensive foul, stepped in and took a charge during a basketball game,
Yeah,
which is something that
nice.
we've talked about a lot. You know, I've tried to explain to my children that even though offense tends to get most of the credit when one plays, being a really good defender is one of the most helpful ways for you to serve the team. And one of the ways you can do that is having both the physical and mental toughness to step in and draw an offensive foul. And he did that the other day, and he got up and he was beaming with pride. And I was really, really proud of him and excited for him that he stepped in and did that. So of
Yeah,
course, I praised it both in the moment and after the game, because that which gets praised gets repeated. So I hopefully he'll start stepping in and taking more charges.
yeah, I like that. Good stuff. How about your proudest moment when you were training elite basketball players?
Boy, there were a lot of those. And honestly, none of them had to do with wins or losses or makes or misses. It was all off the court stuff. One that really sticks out, and I'll try and make this as succinct as possible. I was the performance coach at DeMatha Catholic High School, an absolute basketball powerhouse here in the DC area. And there was a young man named James Robinson who was a 4-year varsity starter at DeMatha. And that's only happened, I believe, 2 times in the history of DeMatha basketball. Terrific young man, was a point guard. And he won the city championship 3 years in a row. And then going into his senior year, we were playing for the WCAC conference championship against a rival. And we were down by 1 point, 6 seconds left. James got the ball. And this would have been a storybook ending. Him hitting the game winner to win his 4th championship. I mean, just an unbelievable legacy. And as time expired, he missed the shot. And DeMatha ended up losing. He was incredibly distraught, understandably. Felt like he let his team down, let the program down, let the coaches down, and was really upset. But the next morning, now his season and his high school career is over, mind you. The next morning, he went before school, had Coach Jones open up the gym, and he went in and he made that shot that he missed. He went in and he made it 100 times before school started because he said, I'm not going to let that shot define me. I'm going to go in and make this 100 times because I know I can, and then I'm going to move past it. And that was one of the most mature and remarkable exhibits of leadership and performance that I've ever seen. And he went on to have a really good career at Pitt and then played professionally overseas. And now he's a college assistant coach and just a terrific young man. But I don't think I could have ever been prouder of someone to be able to move to the next play after something that devastating had happened.
Yeah, that's a great story. Wow. Last lightning round question. I know fitness is important to you. You stay in shape. What are you doing for your physical or mental fitness these days? That's kind of your favorite thing right now.
Well, 30 days ago, I hired a nutrition coach, and fitness and nutrition has always been something that I've been interested in, fascinated with, and lived in accordance with. But I wanted to take it to the next level. And, I'm 48 years old, knocking on the door of 50. And my goal is when I'm 50 years old to be in the best physical, mental, and emotional shape that I've ever been. And I realized that even though I was eating what I thought was a fairly healthy diet, I wanted to take it up another level. So I hired a sports nutritionist and a nutrition coach to really help me dial in with my eating. And it's been a pretty eye-opening experience, 30 days in, and I'm already noticing how I look and how I feel. So I'm really enjoying the process. And I always love the dynamic of being coached. I spend so much time coaching others. It's kind of fun to step aside and let someone coach me.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Alan, always great talking to you. I want to finish by letting you just talk about your books. I think you said you're working on another book as well. Tell us what's going on there.
Sure. Well, if anyone listening, if you think I can add value to you or your organization, you can just go to alansteinjr.com. Plenty of info there on all of my resources. I'm very accessible and responsive on social media. So I'm at Alan Stein Jr. on X and on Instagram and on LinkedIn. I have 2 books in the corporate space, Raise Your Game and Sustain Your Game, which you can find on Audible or Amazon. And then I wrote a little side book called The Sideline, which really talks about all the stuff Ian and I have been sharing in this conversation. And you can find that at thesidelinebook.com. But this was a lot of fun, man. I always enjoy chopping it up with you. I love the work that you guys are doing at iSport 360 and always happy to support in any way I can.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alan, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
All right, take care.